Subscribe to Cheating Tales Lab. Now let's begin. The September rain hammered against the kitchen window as Noel Roberson watched his 11-year-old son push scrambled eggs around his plate. Sam hadn't eaten properly in weeks, not since Terry had served him with divorce papers and moved into her parents' mansion across town. "Dad," Sam's voice cracked. "Mom's lawyer called again. He wants to talk to me without you there." Noel set down his coffee mug, carefully controlling the anger that flared in his chest. "That's not how this works, buddy. You don't have to talk to anyone unless I'm present." "What did you tell him?" I hung up. Sam met his father's eyes, and Noel saw something there that made his heart ache. A wariness that no kid should have at 11. "Is it true what Grandma Glenda said? That they're going to make sure you can't see me anymore?" Noel moved around the table and crouched beside his son's chair. "Sam, listen to me. I've been your dad since the day you were born. I've coached your baseball teams, helped with your science projects, been there for every nightmare and every celebration. That doesn't just stop because your mom and I couldn't make our marriage work. But the McCulloughs have money. Everyone says they always win." The kid was right about that. Claude and Glenda McCullough owned half the commercial real estate in the county. Their daughter Terry had grown up in a world where everything could be bought, including loyalty, testimony, and apparently, justice. Noel had met Terry 13 years ago at a community fundraiser. She'd been volunteering, or rather, posing for photographs while volunteering, and he'd been genuinely impressed by what he thought was her charitable spirit. He'd been a structural engineer then, building a solid career, and she'd seemed interested in his passion for designing sustainable buildings. 6 months later, they were married. Sam came a year after that. It took Noel 8 years to realize the truth. Terry had wanted the image of a stable, loving family to bolster her nascent political career. She'd wanted the photo opportunities, the devoted mother narrative, the sympathetic family story. She'd never wanted the actual work of being a wife or mother. "Get ready for school," Noel said gently. "And Sam, we're going to be okay. I promise you that." After dropping Sam at school, Noel drove to Laura Schneider's law office. Laura was a no-nonsense attorney in her 50s who'd built her reputation defending underdogs against powerful families exactly like the McCulloughs. When Noel had called her 3 weeks ago, she'd taken his case immediately. "They're playing dirty," Laura said without preamble, sliding a folder across her desk. "Terry's lawyer, Michael Ritter, has filed motions claiming you're emotionally unstable. They've got 3 witnesses, all McCullough family friends, ready to testify that they've seen you drinking excessively and displaying erratic behavior around Sam." "That's completely fabricated." "I know, but we need to prove it." The McCulloughs are also pushing for an immediate temporary custody order, claiming Sam is in danger in your home. Noel's jaw tightened. "Sam's never been safer or happier than he is with me. We'll need to demonstrate that. The hearing is in 3 weeks. I need you to document everything. Your time with Sam, your daily routines, any witnesses who can testify to your character and parenting." As Noel left Laura's office, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop fighting this. You'll only hurt Sam. He belongs with his mother. GM. Glenda McCullough." The matriarch thought she could intimidate him through anonymous threats. She had no idea who she was dealing with. The second chapter of Noel's hell began that weekend when he arrived at the McCullough estate to pick up Sam for his court-ordered visitation. The sprawling property sat on 15 acres, with a main house that looked like it had been transplanted from a southern plantation, complete with white columns and a circular driveway. Glenda answered the door, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, her expression glacial. "You're 10 minutes late." "Traffic," Noel said evenly. "Where's Sam?" "Getting his things. He told us he doesn't want to go with you, but the court order says he must." Her smile was venomous. "For now." Sam appeared behind her, backpack slung over one shoulder. His face was unreadable, but Noel caught the slight shake of his head, a warning. In the car, Sam waited until they'd cleared the gates before speaking. "They had me talk to someone yesterday. A psychiatrist, Dr. Wendell Fuentes. He asked me lots of questions about you." "What kind of questions?" "Like, do you ever lose your temper? Do I feel safe at home? Have I ever seen you drunk?" Sam's hands twisted in his lap. I told him the truth, but he kept asking the same things different ways, like he wanted different answers. Noel's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "That evaluation is supposed to be neutral, performed by a court-appointed expert, not someone hired by your mother's family." Grandpa Claude said Dr. Fuentes is helping us. He said you're trying to take me away from Mom to hurt her career. Sam, you know that's not true. I know. The boy's voice was small, but they keep saying it. Uncle Terrence was there too, Mom's brother. He said you're just a middle-class nobody who's jealous of their success. Terrence Walter, Glenda's son from her first marriage. The guy ran the McCullough family's real estate empire and had the conscience of a snake. That night, after Sam fell asleep, Noel sat at his kitchen table reviewing the discovery documents Laura had obtained. There were inconsistencies in Terry's testimony. She claimed to have been the primary caregiver for Sam, but her work calendar showed she'd been traveling 3 weeks out of every month for the past year. She claimed Noel was financially unstable, but his tax returns showed steady, solid income. Then Noel found something interesting. A series of text messages between Terry and someone named RG. The messages were flirtatious, intimate. They dated back 18 months. RG. Noel pulled up the McCullough family's business associates. Ricardo Golden, Claude's new business partner, a real estate developer from Miami, recently divorced, 15 years older than Terry. The affair explained a lot. But what chilled Noel was the final message in the thread. Once custody is settled, we can move forward with our plans. Sam will adjust. Kids always do. Terry had been planning this for over a year. The next morning, Noel called Laura with his findings. This is good, Laura said. But it's not enough. Affairs happen. They'll claim it started after she filed for divorce. We need more. What about the bogus psychiatric evaluation? I'm already filing a complaint about Dr. Fuentes. But Noel, you need to understand something. The McCulloughs aren't just trying to win custody. They're trying to erase you from Sam's life entirely. I've seen this pattern before with powerful families. They want total control. Why? Sam's my son, not their trophy. To them, he's both. Think about it. You're the structural engineer who designed the new civic center, the hospital expansion. You've got community respect, professional reputation. They see Sam as part of their legacy, their empire. With you out of the picture, they can mold him into whatever they want. Noel felt sick. Sam's not property. To them, everything is property. 2 weeks before the hearing, Sam came home from a court-mandated dinner at the McCullough estate and went straight to his room. Noel found him an hour later, sitting on his bed with his phone in his hands, tears streaming down his face. They said you're going to lose, Sam whispered. Grandma Glenda showed me a bedroom they set up for me at their house. She said I'd be living there soon, going to boarding school in the fall. Mom was there with Mr. Golden, and they were holding hands. Nobody even asked me what I wanted. Noel sat beside his son, arm around his shoulders. What do you want, Sam? I want to stay with you. I want things to be normal. Sam wiped his eyes. Dad, they said things tonight. Bad things. About you, about their plans. They thought I was in the bathroom, but I was in the hallway. I heard them talking. What did they say? Sam looked up at his father, and in that moment, he seemed much older than 11. Can your lawyer use recordings? Like if someone recorded something on their phone. Depending on the state law and circumstances, yes. What? Sam unlocked his phone and pulled up a voice memo. Because I've been recording things. Ever since Grandma Glenda sent that text message from Uncle Terrence's phone telling me I should lie about you to the judge. I knew something was wrong, so I started recording when I was at their house. Sam, just listen, Dad. Please. Noel took the phone. There were 15 voice memos, each labeled with dates and locations. He pressed play on the most recent one. Glenda's voice, unmistakable and sharp. The boy needs to understand his place. He'll testify that he wants to stay with Terry, or we'll make sure he regrets it. Terry's voice, slurred slightly. Mother, he's 11. He's not going to understand the big picture. Ricardo Golden's voice, smooth and confident. Once you have full custody, we can proceed with the trust fund restructuring. The kid doesn't need to know his father's family left him that money. It'll be tied up in investments we control. Claude McCullough's voice, authoritative, exactly. And with Noel out of the picture, we can finally move forward with our plans for Sam's future. Boarding school in Switzerland, then whatever university we choose. He'll be useful to the family business eventually. Terry, laughing. God, I can't believe I wasted 12 years pretending to be a devoted mother. At least it'll make good campaign material. The dedicated single mom who fought for her child. Glenda, your father's Senate campaign needs the sympathy vote. Your divorce, your struggle with your ex-husband, Your dedication to Sam despite everything. It's perfect. Noel's hands shook. Sam had recorded his own mother admitting she'd never cared about him, admitting to a conspiracy to steal his inheritance, admitting to using him as a political prop. There's more, Sam said quietly. From other nights. Them coaching me on what to say to the judge. Them talking about paying Dr. Fuentes to write a bad evaluation of you. Mom and Mr. Golden talking about getting married as soon as the divorce is final. His voice dropped to a whisper. And one from last week, where Grandma Glinda slapped Mom for being too obvious about the affair. I was supposed to be asleep. Noel pulled his son close. You've been carrying this alone? I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I told you, they'd find out and hurt you somehow. They're always saying how much power they have. Listen to me, Sam. You did the right thing. You protected yourself and documented the truth. That takes courage. Noel pulled back to look at his son. But I need you to understand something. When we use these recordings in court, things are going to get ugly. Your mother and her family are going to be very angry. I know. Sam's jaw set with a determination that reminded Noel of himself. But I don't want to live with people who talk about me like I'm a chess piece. I want to live with you. You're the only one who's ever really cared about me. That night, Noel called Laura and played her the recordings. There was a long silence when they finished. Noel, Laura finally said, her voice tight with controlled fury. This is explosive. This isn't just custody evidence. This is proof of conspiracy to commit fraud regarding Sam's inheritance, evidence of parental alienation, emotional abuse. If Sam's grandmother really did slap Terry, that's assault. And the fact that they've corrupted the psychiatric evaluation process. Can we use it? Virginia is a one-party consent state for recordings. As long as one person in the conversation consents to being recorded, and Sam was present for all of these, they're admissible. But Noel, we need to be strategic. The McCulloughs will claim the recordings are manipulated or taken out of context. We need to present them in a way that's irrefutable. What do you suggest? Let them walk into court confident. Let them present their manufactured case. Let them lie under oath. And then, Laura's voice held a fierce satisfaction. Then we let Sam speak. The week before the hearing, the McCullough family's campaign against Noel intensified. Anonymous letters appeared at his workplace, claiming he was under investigation for child neglect. Someone leaked a false story to a local blogger about him being seen at a bar instead of picking Sam up from school, easily disproved by time-stamped security footage, but damaging nonetheless. Michael Ritter, Terry's lawyer, filed an emergency motion requesting supervised visitation only, citing ongoing concerns about the father's stability and the child's expressed wishes to remain with his mother. Sam had expressed no such wishes. When the court investigator came to interview him, a genuine court-appointed professional this time, not the McCullough's bought psychiatrist, Sam was careful. He answered questions honestly, but didn't reveal his recordings. Not yet. They asked if I wanted to live with Mom or Dad. Sam told Noel that evening. I said I wanted what was best for me. They asked if I felt safe with you. I said I've always felt safe with you. How did they react? The investigator seemed nice. She said she'd talk to both of you, and then make a recommendation to the judge. Sam hesitated. But then Uncle Terrence called her after she left. I heard him through the door when I was at Mom's apartment. He was offering her consulting work with the family business. Even the court investigator. The McCulloughs were trying to corrupt every piece of the process. Noel met with Laura every evening that week, preparing for every possible scenario. She'd filed motions challenging Dr. Fuentes' credentials, requesting investigation into the anonymous complaints against Noel, and demanding a thorough review of Terry's actual involvement in Sam's life. The judge is Diane Black, Laura told him. She's been on the bench for 20 years, and she has a reputation for being thorough and fair. She won't be easily swayed by the McCullough name, but she's also a stickler for procedure and evidence. We need to present Sam's recordings perfectly. 3 days before the hearing, Noel received a call from Terrence Walter. Roberson, let's talk man to man, Terrence said, his voice oily with false friendliness. This custody fight is going to hurt Sam. Why don't you do the right thing and settle? We'll give you visitation, every other weekend, supervised if you want. You can still be in his life. I'm his father, not a weekend hobby. You're a structural engineer pulling in what, $90,000 a year? We can offer you $200,000 to walk away cleanly. That's a lot of money for a middle-class guy like you. You could start over, Maybe meet someone new, have more kids. Noel's laugh was harsh. You're trying to buy my son from me? We're trying to make this easier on everyone. Sam belongs with his mother. He belongs with family who can give him the best opportunities. I am his family, and no amount of money will change that. Then you're a fool. Terrence's voice hardened. We're going to destroy you in that courtroom. We have witnesses, evaluations, evidence. The judge will see you for what you are, a bitter ex-husband trying to punish his wife by using their child. See you in court, Terrence. Noel hung up and immediately called Laura to report the attempted bribery. She made a note of the date, time, and content of the call. They're getting desperate, Laura said. That's good for us. Desperate people make mistakes. The night before the hearing, Noel couldn't sleep. He lay awake thinking about everything that could go wrong. Every way the McCulloughs might still win despite Sam's evidence. They had money, power, connections. What did he have? The truth. And a smart, brave son who'd had the courage to document that truth. At 2 a.m, Sam appeared in his doorway. Can't sleep either? Come here, buddy. Sam climbed into bed beside his father like he used to when he was smaller. I'm scared, Dad. What if they don't believe the recordings? What if the judge thinks I made them up? Then we'll deal with it. But Sam, no matter what happens tomorrow, I want you to know something. I have never been prouder of anyone than I am of you right now. What you did, standing up for yourself, documenting the truth even when you were scared, that took real courage. I just want us to be together. I don't care about their money or their big house or any of it. I just want my dad. Noel held his son close, making a silent vow. The McCulloughs had no idea what they'd unleashed. They thought they could manipulate, bribe, and intimidate their way to victory. But Noel Roberson had spent his career building structures that could withstand earthquakes and hurricanes. He knew how to find weaknesses in foundations, how to apply pressure at exactly the right points to bring corrupt systems crashing down. Tomorrow, the McCulloughs would learn that some things couldn't be bought, and some people wouldn't break. The courthouse was packed when Noel and Sam arrived with Laura on Monday morning. The McCullough family had claimed the front row on Terry's side of the gallery, Claude and Glinda sitting like royalty, Terrence beside them in an expensive suit, and various cousins and business associates filling the remaining seats. Terry sat at the plaintiff's table with Michael Ritter, wearing a demure navy dress and an expression of wounded dignity. Glinda's whisper carried across the courtroom. He'll never see that boy again. Claude nodded, touching her hand. We'll make sure of it. Ritter smirked at Laura. This will be quick. Sam's hand tightened in Noel's. His father squeezed back, keeping his expression neutral. Let them be confident. Let them think they'd already won. Judge Diane Black entered, and the bailiff called the court to order. Black was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and silver-streaked hair pulled back in a bun. She surveyed the packed courtroom with an expression that suggested she'd seen every game lawyers played and wasn't impressed by any of them. We're here for the custody hearing in the matter of McCullough versus Roberson, Judge Black said. I've reviewed the filings from both parties, and I have to say, this is one of the more contentious cases I've seen in recent months. Let's proceed. Mr. Ritter, you may call your first witness. Ritter stood, buttoning his suit jacket. Your Honor, I'd like to call Dr. Wendell Fuentes to the stand. Dr. Fuentes was a thin man in his 50s with wire-rimmed glasses and a manner that suggested deep concern. He testified about his evaluation of Sam and Noel, painting a picture of an unstable father who couldn't provide appropriate emotional support. The child exhibited signs of anxiety when discussing his father, Dr. Fuentes said. He seemed hesitant, as if afraid to speak freely. In contrast, when discussing his mother and maternal grandparents, he was relaxed and open. Laura's cross-examination was surgical. Dr. Fuentes, who paid for your evaluation? The McCullough family retained me. And you've done work for them before, haven't you? In fact, looking at your client list, the McCullough family and their various business entities have paid you over $300,000 in the past 5 years for various evaluations and testimonies. Fuentes shifted uncomfortably. I've provided expert services for several of their legal matters, including evaluations in 3 previous custody cases where the McCullough family had an interest in the outcome. And in all 3 cases, you found in favor of the McCullough family's preferred custody arrangement. Is that correct? I evaluated each case on its individual merits. Of course you did. Laura's tone made it clear what she thought of that claim. Dr. Fuentes, You spent how many hours with Sam Roberson? 2 hours. And how many of those hours were spent with Sam alone, without members of the McCullough family present? A pause. Approximately 30 minutes. So the majority of your evaluation was conducted with the McCullough family in the room, observing and potentially influencing Sam's responses? They're his family. It's natural for them to be present. Except his father, who requested to be present and was denied. No further questions, Your Honor. Judge Black made a note. Mr. Ritter, your next witness? I called Glenda McCullough to the stand. Glenda testified about Terry's devotion to Sam, painting herself as a loving grandmother who only wanted what was best for her grandson. She claimed Noel had always been emotionally distant, that Sam had confided in her about feeling neglected and frightened at home. The boy needs stability, Glenda said, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. He needs a mother's love and a family who can provide for him properly. When Laura rose for cross-examination, Glenda's expression turned cold. Mrs. McCullough, you texted my client 3 weeks ago threatening him, didn't you? I never did any such thing. Laura produced the text. This came from a phone number registered to your family business. The message reads, stop fighting this. You'll only hurt Sam. He belongs with his mother. I have no knowledge of that message. I see. Mrs. McCullough, how many nights per week did your daughter spend at home with Sam in the past year? I don't keep track of my daughter's schedule. According to calendar evidence we've obtained, Terry was traveling for work approximately 3 weeks out of every month. On the weeks she was in town, she spent at least 3 nights per week at your home or at the home of Ricardo Golden. Isn't it true that Sam spent more time with nannies and his father than with his mother? Glenda's lips thinned. Terry is a busy professional. She's building a career in public service. A career that's more important than raising her own son? Objection. Ritter was on his feet. Argumentative. Sustained, Judge Black said. Move on, Ms. Schneider. Laura smiled. No further questions. The morning continued with more McCullough witnesses, friends who claimed to have seen Noel drinking, neighbors who said Sam seemed unhappy, Terrence Walter, who testified that Noel had threatened him during a phone call. Each time, Laura's cross-examination revealed the same pattern. Witnesses with financial or personal ties to the McCullough family. Testimonies that contradicted documented evidence. Stories that fell apart under scrutiny. By lunch, Judge Black looked skeptical. The afternoon session began with Terry herself taking the stand. She performed beautifully, crying at appropriate moments, talking about her love for Sam, expressing concern about Noel's increasingly erratic behavior. I just want my son to be safe and happy, Terry said, looking directly at the judge. I've dedicated my life to being a good mother. It breaks my heart that Noel is using Sam as a weapon against me. Ritter led her through questions designed to paint Noel as controlling, jealous, and unstable. Terry answered with practiced emotion, the perfect picture of a wronged mother. When Laura stood for cross-examination, Sam sat up straighter beside Noel. Ms. McCullough, you testified that you've dedicated your life to being a good mother. Can you tell me where Sam was on his 10th birthday? Terry blinked. We had a party for him. Did you attend that party? A hesitation. I believe I was traveling for work, but we celebrated when I returned. According to Sam's father's testimony, you were in Miami with Ricardo Golden. You sent Sam a text message wishing him happy birthday, but didn't call or video chat. Is that correct? I was at a conference. At a resort hotel, sharing a room with Mr. Golden, according to hotel records we've subpoenaed. This was 15 months ago, 6 months before you filed for divorce. Isn't it true that you've been having an affair with Ricardo Golden for at least 18 months? The courtroom erupted. Ritter was shouting objections. Glenda was on her feet. Claude's face had turned purple. Judge Black banged her gavel. Order. Mr. Ritter, sit down. Ms. McCullough, answer the question. Terry's perfect composure cracked. My relationship with Ricardo is none of your business. It is when you're claiming moral superiority in a custody case. It is when you're asking this court to believe you're the dedicated, present parent. Ms. McCullough, how many of Sam's baseball games did you attend last season? I don't know. Several. According to the coach's attendance records, 0. You attended 0 games. His father attended all 22. How many parent-teacher conferences did you attend last year? Terry's jaw tightened. My work schedule. 0. His father attended all 4. How many times in the past year have you taken Sam to the doctor, the dentist, or any medical appointment? I don't have the exact. 0, Ms. McCullough. The answer is 0. Every single medical, dental, and optometry appointment was handled by his father. So when you say you've dedicated your life to being a good mother, what exactly do you mean? What have you dedicated besides photo opportunities and court testimony? Terry's face was flushed, tears streaming, but now they looked less like grief and more like fury. How dare you? No further questions, Your Honor. Judge Black called a 15-minute recess. In the hallway, the McCullough family clustered together, their earlier confidence shattered. Noel watched them through the courtroom doors, saw Glinda berating Terry in a harsh whisper, saw Claude on his phone, probably calling more witnesses or lawyers. They're rattled, Laura said quietly. Good. Now comes the hard part. When court reconvened, Ritter called several more witnesses, trying to rebuild the case. But the damage was done. Judge Black's questions had become sharper, more skeptical. Finally, Ritter rested his case. Ms. Schneider, Judge Black said. Your witnesses? Laura stood. Your Honor, I'd like to call Sam Roberson to the stand. Sam stood, and Noel felt his heart clench. His 11-year-old son walked to the witness stand with his shoulders back and his head high. The bailiff adjusted the microphone for his height. Judge Black leaned forward, her expression softening. Sam, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to answer honestly, okay? You're not in trouble, and whatever you say won't get you in trouble. I just want to understand what you want and what's best for you. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Good. Sam, you've heard a lot of people today talk about where you should live and who should take care of you. I want to know what you think. Where do you want to live? Sam looked at his father, then at his mother. Terry was crying again, but Sam's expression didn't soften. Can I show you something first, Your Honor? Judge Black tilted her head. What would you like to show me? Sam reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Can I play this? The courtroom went dead silent. Noel felt everyone's eyes on his son. Glinda McCullough had gone pale. Claude was leaning forward, frowning. Terry looked confused. Judge Black studied Sam's face, then nodded. You may. Sam's hands trembled slightly as he connected his phone to the courtroom's audio system, something Laura had arranged earlier, just in case. He pulled up the first recording and pressed play. Glinda's voice filled the courtroom. The boy needs to understand his place. He'll testify that he wants to stay with Terry, or we'll make sure he regrets it. Gasps rippled through the gallery. On the witness stand, Sam pressed play on the next recording. Terry's slurred voice. Mother, he's 11. He's not going to understand the big picture. Ricardo Golden. Once you have full custody, we can proceed with the trust fund restructuring. The kid doesn't need to know his father's family left him that money. Claude McCullough. Exactly. And with Noel out of the picture, we can finally move forward with our plans for Sam's future. Boarding school in Switzerland, then whatever university we choose. Terry, laughing. God, I can't believe I wasted 12 years pretending to be a devoted mother. The courtroom erupted. Ritter was shouting. Glinda was screaming at Sam to stop. Claude was on his feet, face purple, demanding the judge halt the proceedings. Judge Black's gavel cracked like thunder. Sit down. All of you, sit down right now, or I'll clear this courtroom. Into the silence, Sam played the next recording. And the next. Evidence of coaching him to lie. Evidence of paying Dr. Fuentes. Evidence of bribes offered to court personnel. And finally, the sound of a slap, followed by Glinda's voice. You stupid girl, you're being too obvious about the affair. Sam stopped the recordings and looked at Judge Black. His voice was steady despite the chaos. I have 14 more, Your Honor. They're all like this. I started recording after Grandma Glinda sent me a text telling me to lie about my dad. I was scared, but I wanted proof of what they were really like. Judge Black's expression was carved from stone. Approach the bench. All attorneys, now. Laura and Ritter approached. The whispered conversation was intense, with Ritter gesticulating wildly and Laura standing calm and resolute. When they returned to their tables, Judge Black addressed the courtroom. I'm going to recess for 30 minutes. Mr. Ritter, I suggest you consult with your clients. This court takes accusations of perjury, witness tampering, and corruption of the judicial process extremely seriously. In a private conference room, Laura, Noel, and Sam waited. Through the walls, they could hear raised voices from the room where the McCullough family had gathered. You were so brave in there, Noel told his son. So incredibly brave. Sam was shaking now, the adrenaline wearing off. Did I do okay? Do you think the judge believes me? I think, Laura said gently, that you just handed us the most decisive custody victory I've seen in my 20-year career. Those recordings are damning. They prove everything we've been saying about the McCullough family's manipulation and about Terry's real priorities. A knock on the door. The bailiff, Judge Black, is ready. Back in the courtroom, the McCullough family looked devastated. Glenda's makeup was streaked. Claude's face was ashen. Terry sat slumped at the table, not meeting anyone's eyes. Ricardo Golden was conspicuously absent. Judge Black took her seat. I've reviewed the recordings that Sam Roberson played in court. I've also been informed by the court administrator that the number Ricardo Golden used to call our court investigator matches the number on our official complaint log from 3 days ago, where he attempted to offer the investigator a consulting position. She paused. I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for investigation into witness tampering, perjury, and fraud. I'm also suspending Dr. Wendell Fuentes' ability to serve as a court-appointed expert pending review by the state medical board. Ritter stood. Your Honor, my clients. Your clients, Mr. Ritter, have corrupted this process at every level. They have coached a child to lie. They have attempted to steal his inheritance. They have perjured themselves in my courtroom. Judge Black's voice was ice. I've heard more than enough to make my decision. She looked at Sam. Young man, you showed remarkable courage today. You did the right thing, even though it was hard. I want you to know that. Then she turned to Noel. Mr. Roberson, I'm granting you full physical and legal custody of Sam Roberson, effective immediately. Ms. McCullough, you are granted supervised visitation only, 2 hours every other Saturday, to be supervised by a court-appointed monitor at your expense. This arrangement will be reviewed in 6 months, and only if you can demonstrate significant changes in your behavior and priorities will we consider modification. Terry's sob echoed through the courtroom. Furthermore, Judge Black continued, I'm ordering an immediate investigation into Sam's inheritance and any accounts that may have been improperly handled by the McCullough family. All assets that belong to Sam will be placed in a court-supervised trust until he reaches majority age. She looked at Glenda and Claude. Mr. and Mrs. McCullough, you are to have no contact with Sam outside of his mother's supervised visits. No phone calls, no texts, no gifts, no attempts to see him at school or elsewhere. If you violate this order, I will hold you in contempt and consider criminal stalking charges. Do you understand? Claude's voice was barely audible. Yes, Your Honor. This hearing is concluded. The order will be filed today. The gavel fell. Noel pulled Sam into his arms, and his son buried his face in his father's shoulder and finally cried. Tears of relief, of triumph, of release from months of pressure and fear. Laura was shaking both their hands, grinning fiercely. You two did it. You actually did it. Behind them, the McCullough family filed out of the courtroom in silence, their empire of lies crumbling around them. Terry didn't even look at Sam as she passed. In the hallway, reporters were already gathering, having caught wind of the dramatic testimony. Noel shielded Sam from the cameras as they made their way to the exit. Mr. Roberson, one reporter called. What do you have to say about the custody decision? Noel paused, Sam's hand in his. He thought about everything the McCulloughs had tried to do, the lies, the manipulation, the attempts to buy and corrupt the system. He thought about what they'd underestimated, a father's love and an 11-year-old boy's courage. I have my son, Noel said simply. That's all that matters. 3 months later, Sam sat at the kitchen table working on his science fair project, a model of a suspension bridge that Noel was helping him design. The evening sun streamed through the windows of their house, the same modest home that the McCulloughs had sneered at. Dad, can you check my calculations on the load distribution? Noel reviewed his son's work, impressed by the careful attention to detail. These look good, buddy. You're really getting the hang of structural engineering. Sam grinned. I have a good teacher. The DA's investigation into the McCullough family was ongoing. Ricardo Golden had been charged with attempted fraud regarding Sam's inheritance. Dr. Fuentes had lost his license. Terrence Walter was under investigation for bribery. Claude and Glenda faced multiple charges related to witness tampering. Terry had attended 3 supervised visits with Sam. The first 2 had been awkward and painful, with Terry trying to explain and Sam quietly refusing to engage. The 3rd visit, she'd finally apologized, a real apology, without excuses or justifications. Sam had listened and said he needed time. She'd nodded, tears streaming, and told him she understood. Noelle didn't know if Sam would ever forgive his mother. That was Sam's decision to make when he was ready. For now, they were building a life together, father and son, without the weight of the McCullough family's expectations and manipulations. "Hey, Dad." Sam looked up from his project. "My teacher asked if I wanted to talk to the class about standing up to bullies. Because of what happened in court. Do you want to?" Sam considered. "I think so. I mean, what Grandma and Grandpa and Mom did. That was bullying, right? Using their power to try to control me and hurt you. That's exactly what it was. Then yeah, maybe if I tell my story, it'll help other kids who are dealing with stuff like that. Let them know they can speak up, even against adults, even against people who seem powerful." Noelle felt his throat tighten. His son had been through hell, had been forced to grow up too fast, had recorded his own family's cruelty to protect himself. But he'd emerged stronger, more compassionate, more determined to use his experience to help others. "I think that's a great idea, Sam." That night, after Sam went to bed, Noelle stood in his son's doorway and watched him sleep. The judge had been right. Sam had shown remarkable courage. But more than that, he'd shown wisdom beyond his years, the ability to see through manipulation to the truth beneath. The McCulloughs had underestimated both of them. They'd thought money and power could overcome everything. They'd thought Noelle would be too intimidated to fight back, that Sam was too young to see through their schemes. They'd been wrong. Noelle's phone buzzed. A text from Laura. DA just called. Grand jury indicted Claude McCullough on 3 counts of witness tampering and conspiracy to commit fraud. Glenda too. Terry took a plea deal, probation and mandatory counseling in exchange for testimony against her parents. Another text followed. You and Sam did this. You beat them the right way, with truth and courage. That's a victory that'll last. Noelle looked at his sleeping son one more time, then quietly closed the door. They'd won. Not just custody, not just the legal battle, but something more important. They'd proven that integrity and love were stronger than corruption and greed. They'd shown that a father's dedication and a child's bravery could overcome even the most powerful enemies. The McCullough family would face justice. Their carefully constructed image had crumbled, their influence waning as criminal charges mounted. Terry would have to rebuild her relationship with Sam from nothing, earning every minute of trust. But Noelle and Sam? They had everything they needed. They had each other, they had truth on their side, and they had a future built on honesty and love. In the morning, they'd make pancakes and work on the science fair project. Sam would go to school, Noelle would go to work, and life would continue in its quiet, steady way. No more courtrooms, no more battles with powerful families, no more recordings or investigations. Just a father and son building something strong together. Something that couldn't be bought, manipulated, or destroyed. Something real. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.